It's podcadzo.
Is that some cold brew coffee in a can right there?
It is some canned cold brew. I was going to go get a Liquid Death, but the gas station that I stopped at did not have it. And I know, I'm kind of anticipating some tiredness later in the night.
Why?
Just because I've been going so hard, dude.
Aw.
No, I haven't been sleeping
Poor
well
guy.
lately.
Really?
Yeah, the last week. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I just wasn't getting good sleep. I was having trouble falling asleep, waking up a lot at night.
Damn.
I have this fitness watch that tracks my sleep now.
Mm-hmm.
I got it last month.
Okay.
And so I actually can look at how I'm sleeping. And there was 4 nights in a row. It was you got 4 hours of sleep.
Dude, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Last night I slept well. But I still got the sleep debt going on.
Check it out. I got 4 hours and 8 minutes of sleep last night.
Nice. Yeah, we're on the same sketch. What time you going to bed though?
I've been falling asleep really early, which is kind of a mistake because falling asleep really early means that I wake up really early.
Yeah.
And the waking up really early is hard to adjust to because I don't really like just waking up at 4 a.m. and just laying in bed for 2 hours. It kind of makes me feel sleepy again by the time 6 a.m. rolls around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what about you? What time do you go to sleep?
I have a pretty good schedule. I try to go to sleep between 10:30 and 11. So I'm
Yeah.
usually in bed at 10:30. I have my sleepy time tea. I read a couple pages. And then when things are going good, it's lights out, after a chapter.
Yeah.
And when I finish my sleepy time tea. And then I wake up. I'm addicted to
You're a
sleepy
man
time
of
tea.
routine.
I am a man of routine. I like my nighttime routine.
I do too, honestly. I think for months, for a long time, I was falling asleep at 11 or 10:30 every night and then waking up at 7 a.m. every morning. And that's perfect.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
7 is great that's when I naturally want to wake up. But
Mhm.
with my job, I sometimes have meetings at 7 in the morning, which is way too early for meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
But whatever.
You have to get up at
So yeah,
6.
I get up at 6 then. So I always try to get up at 6 regardless. But if I have nothing going on, I'll snooze the alarm till 7.
Yeah. On my days off, I'll sleep in until probably 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
But I think what sucks about having a routine around sleep is that if there's any variable to your schedule, it becomes a nightmare. Like when we play shows, I'm ready to go to bed sometimes before we even start our set.
Totally.
It's damn, I'm not cut out to be up late. And then going to shows is a nightmare because coming back is just a fucking slog every time.
I have that I'm being up late is so overrated. And why can't shows end? Every show should end at 10 p.m.
Shows should
At the
start at
latest.
7 p.m.
7. Give people 6 to 7 to have dinner.
Mhm.
Doors 7. Show starts 7:30.
I think
Wrap up by
doors
10.
at 6:30.
6:30, yeah.
Honestly, if you're that if you're that person that shows up really early to door, I mean, sometimes bands have people showing up at 8 a.m. for a doors
Yeah.
at 12 hours later,
Uh-huh.
That's a little ridiculous. But if you're showing up 2 or 3 hours before door, it's not really going to make a difference if doors are at 6 or if doors are at 7. The people that want to get there early are still
They're
going to
be
get there early.
They
Yeah.
took the day off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rest of the crowd's going to roll in anyways.
They're going to roll in 15 minutes before the openers start.
Yeah.
It doesn't
totally
matter.
skip the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
Or the opener.
The opener.
Yeah.
That'd
Probably
be weird.
don't skip the headliner.
Yeah,
That's a
I
bad,
have done that,
That's
though.
a bad tactic.
I think I've done that once or twice.
I've left, I think, name Red Rock shows where we were going with other people and didn't really give a shit. I've left 2 songs into the headliner. Let's beat the traffic and
Let's
get out of here.
Let's get the fuck
I
out
do
of
not
here.
wanna be here
Especially
right
Red
now.
Rocks, dude. Leaving Red Rocks after a show's over is the most frustrating thing in the whole goddamn world.
Going to Red Rocks
Overall is pretty frustrating.
It's pretty frustrating. It's definitely, I mean, we sound like such spoiled brats right
Yeah.
now. We're very lucky to have grown up close to Red Rocks and have access to the shows and everything.
Of course.
But once you go to enough, you're it's such a chore.
You realize
especially if
that
you're coming
you're
from Fort
going there
Collins.
to experience the venue more than you're going there to experience the show,
Yeah.
which sounds like a diss, and it's genuinely not. Like, experiencing the venue is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a great time seeing like a live show, Red Rocks isn't like the best venue that we really have in Colorado for that.
Of the venues I frequent, Red Rocks might have the worst sound the most
Definitely.
consistently.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard to get a consistent sound when you're an outdoor venue, and like a slight breeze can change the way that the entire stage
totally.
makes sounds.
Yeah, and like visiting bands, if they have their own front of house guy. I've never mixed front of house at Red Rocks, but I imagine it's challenging to do it your first time.
Yeah, if you're mixing like
environment you're not
ballrooms and
used to.
stuff, and then you go
Yeah.
to Red Rocks, that's got to be a challenge for sure.
For sure. I saw Morrissey at Red Rocks actually, and Morrissey's sound got better throughout the night. But and Future Islands opened for him.
Oh,
Future Islands was the worst sounding show I've ever heard, which is a bummer because I do like Future Islands. And then
I feel like a thing with Red Rocks is that the openers always sound like half as good as the headliner.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, why do you have to try less hard for the openers?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it's. I mean,
They
usually,
just all
so
have
there's
their
could
own
be
front
two
of house
factors.
people.
Well, usually, my experience working sound, it's usually the house guy who mixes the opener. Sometimes the front of house guy wants a real tight tour and mixes both bands. Rarely does the opener bring their own
Their own
front of house engineer unless
person.
it's a big tour. So yeah, you would think that the house engineer would be really good at mixing at Red Rocks, but I think it's a combination of not knowing the band, being a little bit jaded, and it could at Red Rocks be an intentional thing too. Like we're not going to try too hard with the opener.
That's
by comparison
what it
have the headliner.
feels like, because you have those same variables at all other venues, and yet the opener doesn't usually sound half as good as the headliner at like Mission Ballroom or even like the Gothic or, smaller venues. Like, it's usually a more consistent thing.
Yeah.
I feel like at Red Rocks, people are just not usually ever there for the openers, which is unfortunate too. The shows are always billed super like headliner heavy, so
Definitely. Yeah, most of the time, like I hear often people going and they're like, who's opening? I don't
Yeah.
even know.
I don't even know the opener.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I will say that that's true about myself as well. Like, I'll go to shows and have no idea who the opener is, but I'm not trying to be like, well, I'm just going to disregard the opener completely. Like, give them
Something I wanted to talk about, the Bombay Bicycle Club show.
Yes.
That I saw last week and that you were unfortunately not able to go to because
I've been
of
waiting
illness.
for 4 years plus to see them
know,
live,
dude.
and then I missed it again because I thought I was dying, but I just had allergies.
Well, I think it's good you skipped it because you would not have enjoyed it anyways, and it could have soured your whole, opinion of Bombay Bicycle Club if you had a really bad concert experience and weren't feeling good.
Thank you for the shirt.
You're welcome for the shirt. At least
I can tell people that
you
I
were
went.
there in spirit. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a very good show. I enjoyed it a lot. Speaking of sound, it was maybe the best sounding show absolutely best sounding show I've seen at the Ogden. Maybe any club in Denver. Best sound. They had it super together.
Yeah, like there's no way they wouldn't. That's like their whole thing.
Totally. The opener, I was going to mention the opener thing. It was a band called Gengar.
No idea.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them either. And I did the same thing. I didn't even think to look who was opening until I was like in line to enter and checked them out. They're pretty cool. Kind of Bombay-esque UK indie rock. Their lead guitar player was Johnny Greenwood. It was really funny. He had the exact same haircut, exact same stage mannerisms, wore his guitar super low.
Okay, interesting.
Cool style, though. I liked him. They, unfortunately, had pretty bad sound.
Damn.
Yeah. So I was kind of checked out for their performance. But their recorded music is cool. I like them. I recommend people check out Gengar. And then, yeah, dude, Bombay came on and like blew my mind. It was pretty good.
What was like the set list like?
So I was trying to take notes here. I can bring it up on this computer. Let's go to set list, or let me do it on the iPad. Actually, be able to see better. It was a very stacked set list. Not a ton, not as much as I thought off the new album. They really went back into their older albums, played the
Interesting.
hits.
Okay.
Any hit you can think of, it was in the set list. Pretty long set too. I'd say I wasn't really paying too much. Okay, this isn't working. Set list. FM.
It doesn't look like anyone uploaded the
Oh
set list.
no! Shit. I should have taken the. I was considering taking notes on my phone so I could upload the set list.
I'm surprised it's not up.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah.
will be.
I'll pull up. I can remember by looking at Bombay's discography, I'm sure.
I think I don't know. It's not a surprise to hear that they didn't do too much new stuff, but also I kind of want to know how much from the last album they did.
They
I
did.
feel like that's what I'm missing.
Yeah. So I was actually going to mention, because I know you're a big fan of Everything Else Has Gone Wrong. The standout, I think my two favorite songs that they performed all night were from Everything Else Has
God
Gone
damn
Wrong.
it. See, that's the type of shit I don't want to hear.
They did the titular track, Everything Else Has Gone Wrong,
Okay, that's
which was
cool.
a high point for me. And then Eat, Sleep, Wake, Nothing
Nice.
But You,
Great
which was
fucking
also
song.
a great fucking song.
You think they're doing like the same set list every night?
It seemed pretty... I
Locked
got the
in?
impression that it was a pretty locked-in set list.
Okay. Is there a lot of like set production and stuff? I know they had like the balloons.
Just the balloons and then like streamers behind them. It kind of gave the impression of like a bad retirement party in the UK in the 70s, which I think is exactly what they were going for. And how like you see movies and it's like in some depressing ballroom.
Like a cheesy party.
Yeah.
That's
but
kind
it
of how
fit
all
very
the
well.
videos and shit were too.
Great lighting. Pretty minimal, but it was very effective. And I liked how they used risers on the stage too. Drummer was on a big riser, stage left, towering above everybody, and then they had a second smaller riser, stage right, where their percussionist / kind of auxiliary player and the backup singer were standing.
Okay.
And then, of course, Jack was front and
Front and
center,
center.
lead guitar, house left, bass player, house right.
Nice.
So yeah, good stage design. Yeah, dude, I'm trying to think what else to say about the set. It was really good. They're just so tight, you know. Their on-ears obviously playing to a click because they were launching a bunch of tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
But not a single missed note all night. Not a single flub.
Very well rehearsed.
Very well rehearsed. Perfectly executed.
God damn it.
It was a good show, dude. But
huge miss for me.
you'll see them again someday.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be back.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna go anywhere anytime soon. They already did that. So
it was great vibes, and it's making me proud to be a Denver music fan in Denver, because the last several shows I've been to, with touring bands, the bands have been really stoked on the audiences, and you can tell it's sincere.
yeah.
Like when we saw Queens
Yeah.
at Fiddler's Green, Josh Homme, you could tell was really feeling the crowd and
Yeah.
appreciative.
That's definitely been happening at a lot of the shows I've been to lately too. Even big shows like Mission Ballroom shows, the bands are like, "Damn, you guys fucking bringing it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's really cool.
And you know, I would expect nothing less of Bombay Bicycle Club fans, but everyone was very nice, courteous,
I'm sure.
respectful.
Bunch of goddamn hipsters in that
yeah, it
audience.
was hipster central. But yeah, it was really Jack Stedman, the singer, was really stoked on Denver, and like towards the end of the set, between every song, he was like, "You guys are seriously like the best crowd we've." I'm not just saying that, like. And the people in Boulder would be upset to hear me say this. They were a great crowd too, but like you guys, this is like the best experience we've
The
ever
Boulder
had.
crowds are nothing like the Denver crowds. I went to a Boulder show. Well, the Boulder show I went to recently was actually fucking amazing, but some of the Boulder shows I've been to lately, the crowds are pretty subdued.
I've had a mixed bag, yeah, because sometimes it's rowdy college kids, which you know what, like if they're respectful, that's great. That's kind of the perfect audience to have a bunch of energetic college kids. But yeah, some of like the more hoity-toity shows I've been to, it's the Boulder elite,
Yeah.
and that's not fun.
It's just like people in middle age
Yeah,
who are trying to enjoy a night out.
It's like an Armory or
And they take it
Washington's
too far.
show here
Kinda,
in Fort
yeah.
Collins.
Yeah.
It's that crowd everywhere. But he just kept rambling about Denver. He was like, I've seriously had the most lovely day. We were at Coors Field today. We saw the Rockies play.
Oh, nice.
I was having the best time. And then he was like, let's go the fucking Rockies. Let's fucking go the Rockies. So that was cute.
Damn, dude. I wish I was fucking there.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I am glad I didn't go, but I think I could have made it through. It would have been a little miserable, but then I could have said I was there.
Yeah.
Which might have been worth it in itself. I might not have had fun, but I would have been there.
Would have been
anyway.
there. Yeah. No, they'll come through
They'll
again.
come back.
He said many times, they're like, we're definitely coming back soon. We can't wait to be back here. Like, we love Colorado so much.
Hell yeah.
So I'm sure they'll be back there.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that was Bombay Bicycle Club.
Okay.
But we've convened here today to talk about something else in the cool indie world. Something else that's very important. And that is, why don't you introduce it? Oh, welcome to Podcadzo, by the way. I haven't been saying that at the start of episodes. I missed saying that. So welcome to Podcadzo.
Welcome back. What we are here to talk about today is this little medical issue that I have. It's a red bump. I don't really want to say where the bump is quite yet.
Mm-hmm. It's like the...
What?
Have you seen the Kanye video where he's like, I was misdiagnosed.
I'm not going to say by what race.
I thought you were going to do that with your...
No.
I'm not going to say where the bump is. That would be unbecoming.
Where...
It was a Jewish doctor.
It was a Jewish doctor.
Speaking of that, though, I'm not... Without giving away where you live a little bit out in the sticks, where I'd say the general populace is right-leaning, which is why you moved out here. So you could be around...
Let's Go Brandon stickers out here.
Yeah, like-minded people. A lot of Trump flags.
I'm not going to say where I was on January 6th, but I wasn't home on January 6th.
You were keeping up with the events without watching the news. Let's just say it that way.
I was saying something that rhymes with Rang Reich Rents.
Dude, how sick would it have been if Mike Pence actually got hung?
That shit would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Especially because then you know for a fact Donald Trump would have tried to have been like, I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
They did that shit on their own. Crazy ass motherfuckers.
Am I sad he's dead? But we'll see. I don't know.
Only time can tell.
So yeah, it's not surprising to see like Trump flags or anything out where you live. Mm-hmm. But your neighbors down the road were really holding it down in a new way. They made a homemade sign that they pasted over some like old real estate sign or something that just said, "We support Israel," which I thought was really funny to go. I imagine they're geezers who like don't know how to use Microsoft Word because it was a very crudely designed Word document. But I just think it's so funny that they felt the need to go to their home office, to their desktop computer, write in a Word document, "We support Israel," and then glue it to a sign outside of their house, just so if anyone was driving by and wondered how they felt about Muslim people, they would know.
They'd have an idea.
They'd have an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to the Bill Maher podcast because Jerry Seinfeld was on it, and I was like, well, that's interesting.
Conversation,
yeah, it was very interesting. But then I think after that one was over, the Bill Burr one just came on. Bill Burr was on recently, too.
Oh, nice. Very similar names, Bill Burr, Bill Maher.
Yeah, very kind of confusing to have to try to explain to people what you're listening to. Yeah. I was like, I'm listening to Bill Burr, anyway.
Bill Burr.
Yeah, so
Burma.
Bill Maher said something about how people that support... He said something about like people supporting Gaza are like directly supporting Hamas. And I was like...
Bill Burr said that?
No, Bill Maher said that. Bill Burr would never say something that fucking asinine.
Dude, Bill
of course,
Maher,
Bill Maher lives on his own planet.
Bill Maher's kind of been red-pilled, huh? A little bit lately?
No, he's always been like that.
Yeah.
Like, he's always been pretty centrist, and I think that just because Democrats are getting further to the left. They seem crazier to him now,
So
and so he seems more right. But
I'll be
he's
honest,
definitely not leaning right.
I've
but
never been able to listen to Bill Maher speak for
no,
more
he's
than
pretty
30
insufferable.
seconds.
He's a fucking
maybe the
asshole.
most pretentious person
He's a fucking
ever
asshole.
to exist.
He was calling Bill Burr like an idiot and stuff for like not agreeing with Bill Maher, and Bill Maher was also trying to be like, this is my area of expertise, like this is where I know what I'm talking about. It's like, no, you fucking don't. He literally admits, he's like, I never watch the news, I never read the papers. Like, it's like, well then, where the fuck do you get any of your information from?
We were going to intro what we were going to talk about.
We're here to talk
and then
about
we
something
got,
completely different.
Yeah. Pretty severe sidetrack.
We're going to get back on the music. Someone very cool, someone very important, I would say.
Yeah.
Someone very influential who a lot of very famous musicians and producers and collaborators alike all like and admire, and someone who has been kind of at the forefront of experimental pop for a very long time. They released an album recently. I have the date written down here. I'm not going to go back and find it right now because I'm going to tell you the date 26th. In a little bit. Something like that.
Yeah.
No, it was before that, wasn't it?
I think the full album dropped April 26th. Singles have been coming out obviously much before that.
Oh, yep, you're right.
A long time before that.
Okay. So yeah, St. Vincent. She just put out an album called All Born Screaming. Very, very good record. I think in a lot of ways it surprised me, and in some ways it kind of felt like exactly what needed to happen. And I figured rather than just doing like a little quick recap on the new album, because it hasn't been out for that long, I don't think it's necessarily old enough for a full deep dive yet. I think like music publications that post like fucking, I don't know, a day after an album comes out, it's
With
like, you don't know what you're saying.
No, it's ridiculous.
But yeah, so anyway, St. Vincent put out this album. In lieu of that, I feel like we should go through and have a little St. Vincent episode real quick.
I'm down. I'd also let's not review the album in detail, but it'd be fun to do a track by track thing.
100%.
Just call out some tracks we like.
So I think
on thoughts on the album.
What we should do is do just a little brief history, and then we'll go through each album and go through her songs track by track.
Let's do.
So yeah, I took the liberty of compiling notes this time because the last time I came to the table with an episode, I didn't compile notes, and then it felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. So I compiled some loose notes this time. Nothing crazy, but just a little brief history. So St. Vincent was born as Annie Clark in 1982, September 28th to be specific. She started playing guitar when she was 12 years old. She was into La Bamba, and I guess because of that, her mom got her like a plastic guitar from Target, and so she played with that for a while, and then at age 12, she got a real guitar and was always interested in music. Her aunt and uncle were actually in a vocal jazz duo, like a guitar vocal jazz duo.
Her uncle is a fucking ripper. He's one of the best jazz guitarists of all time. What's his name again?
I can't remember his name. I should have written it down, but he is a savage. They're both savages. The jazz duo is amazing. I actually listened to them a fair bit back in the day.
I got in. Have you ever seen I've talked about this YouTube series a couple times on the pod before. Guitar Moves with Matt Sweeney, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
I always forget his name.
I think it's Matt Sweeney.
Yeah, Matt Sweeney. But there's a St. Vincent episode, and she cites her uncle as a big influence, and that's when I started looking into him several years ago. I'll find it.
But yeah, so anyway, she roadied for her aunt and uncle when she was a teenager, and I think that probably also planted a little bit of a seed, especially being around jazz that much. Yes.
Yeah.
Being around jazz that much, I think shows in some of her earlier
is the full name.
Work. And then she went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, where she studied. I think she was doing singing she was studying like the singing and songwriting thing, and then she wound up leaving after 3 years. The way she describes it in interviews, it's basically just that I think she felt like Berkeley was a little bit too focused on the superficial, or like the marketing and aesthetic side of things, and she was more interested in the actual songwriting element.
She
and
already
the
had the
production
aesthetics
element
down.
The aesthetic will definitely come natural to her. We find that later. But yeah, she left Berkeley, and then she started just gigging around. She released like a solo EP, or not necessarily a solo EP, sorry. She released an EP that was like a collaboration with some other Berkeley friends that she had. And that was in 2006. And then basically kind of just was in some bands for a while. She was in a noise rock band called the Skullfuckers.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And then she left the Skullfuckers, and pretty much right after that, she released her first EP as St. Vincent, called Paris is Burning. Just a collection of songs, definitely demo-esque quality. And then basically right after that, she started working on her first album, which is called Marry Me, which I always thought was funny that it was called Marry Me because... Are you an Arrested Development fan? Have we talked about this?
Oh, yeah, huge Arrested Development fan.
So, Baby always says,
Maybe,
marry
yeah, marry
me.
me. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I always thought that it was funny that the album was called that. In doing research earlier, I actually learned that she did name the album Marry Me after the Arrested Development one-liner. So that's pretty funny.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
So yeah, the album Marry Me comes out in 2007, July 10th. I think very critically acclaimed, especially for a first full length. Pretty much right out the gate, critics like her a lot. They notice that she's pretty irreverent and pretty, I guess, just ambiguous as an instrumentalist. She can kind of pivot very well, and she is obviously very good at being like a multi-instrumentalist figure. And then in 2008, she was actually nominated for 3 Plug Awards, which is just like an independent music award show. She was nominated for New Artist of the Year, Female Artist of the Year, and Music Video of the Year. So that was all less than a year after Marry Me comes out, which is moving pretty quick, I think, as far as critical acclaim. And then she started working on Actor in the middle of 2008, and then Actor came out May 5th, 2009. Again, Actor was pretty critically acclaimed. Like, people fucked with it pretty heavily. It definitely moved her up the echelon a fair bit as far as just recognizability at like the pedestrian level. She kind of went from being like a critically acclaimed artist to just like a known artist at every level because of Actor. And then she started working on Strange Mercy in October 2010. She was in Seattle for a month because Jason McGurr, who's the drummer of Death Cab for Cutie, was moving out of an office, and he offered it to her for the last month because it was empty. So she used the office to write the whole album, essentially. And then she put the album out, Strange Mercy, September 13th, 2011. Strange Mercy definitely cemented her as like an experimental pop icon. Like, she found her sound, I think, really well on Strange Mercy. She really locked in on what she was trying to do specifically with pop. And it's also worth noting that all the St. Vincent albums up to this point are definitely kind of conceptual. Like, each record has its own set of rules, set of guidelines, kind of set of restrictions that she follows throughout the entire record. So the songs all flow very well together and obviously make a lot of sense together. I think Strange Mercy is also like kind of the epitome of that up to this point for St. Vincent. Like, the track list makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Every song's a fucking banger.
This is when I jumped aboard, was Strange Mercy. I remember hearing Cruel and Cheerleader, I think were the singles. Cruel is still one of my favorite St. Vincent songs.
I think Cruel is probably one of the more like well-known St. Vincent songs, and she also really got like a lot of radio play around those singles when they were singles. So
were you into her before
the
first 2 albums? I obviously got into the first 2 albums afterwards, but I don't think I heard of St. Vincent until 2011.
Yeah, Actor was my shit when it came out. I loved it a lot. And then I always liked Marry Me. It was never my favorite, but Will Brock was always a huge Marry Me fan. So when we started hanging out, I was hearing that album a lot too. And it kind of made me gain some more appreciation for it, but I definitely still thought like Actor was amazing. And then when Strange Mercy did come out, it was like, oh my God, this is like truly next level. She just crossed so many bridges and I think connected so many dots on Strange Mercy. And then after that, she put out a collaborative album with David Byrne that's called Love This Giant. That came out September 10th, 2012. So a little bit less than a year
Mr.
later.
Burns.
Almost exactly a year. Yeah. Almost exactly a year later. But that album also got massive critical acclaim. Obviously, David Byrne putting his name on anything gets the music community fucking rock hard in their little britches.
There's not a better endorsement for the next kind of art pop savant than David Byrne being like, yeah, this person's legit.
I think it definitely cemented her as someone who is like an instant classic. Like David Byrne obviously doesn't work with just anybody. He doesn't work with many people at all. So the fact that he was working with someone who was an up-and-comer, a little bit fresher to the scene, so early in her career definitely cemented her as like, okay, this person's going to be here for a long time. She's going to be like influencing the scene for a long time. And Love This Giant's fucking full of bangers too. And then February 23rd, 2014, St. Vincent self-titled comes out. Again, kind of just moving a little bit further up from where St. Vincent Strange Mercy was, in my opinion. I think the self-titled one takes it further, gets more experimental, kind of drifts further into the St. Vincent universe. Still very encapsulated, like a very conceptual record from start to finish. Very synth-heavy. Drums are very chopped up. Drums are very neglected. It's very much driving for that modern pop sound.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just before we get too far ahead, I forgot that she had a song in Twilight as well. Rosalind,
on New Moon.
New Moon, yeah. Which is important. A lot of the most highly touted kind of indie rock icons of the 2000s were featured on the Twilight Saga soundtrack. That's kind of, how he got minted as a legitimate indie artist back then. Anyways, sorry, carry on. I thought that was important to interject with.
Yeah, I think that is worth noting because didn't Vampire Weekend also have a song on New Moon?
Yeah,
yeah,
Jonathan Lowe.
Yeah, they're also still in the fold, baby. So
all right, I'm just gonna pull up that.
I think if nothing else, the New Moon soundtrack really. They nailed it by picking all the up-and-comers very well.
Yeah, and Bon Iver is on
Bon
this.
Iver, yep.
This too, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then, yeah.
Grizzly Bear. Death Cab for Cutie. Although they were around
the Grizzly
forever.
Bear one.
Yeah. Tom York.
Death Cab for Cutie played that song on the Transatlanticism and Give Up anniversary shows that they did last year.
Yeah, that's cool.
So random.
Editors, Seawolf.
Editors really fell off.
Yeah, they did.
They're still putting out music.
I think so. Anyways.
Anywho.
Fun to look back at. It's a real time capsule.
Yeah. The whole Twilight series is just a time capsule for my teenage angst.
Oh, for sure.
And hating girls. Why are girls so fucking stupid?
So stupid.
Why do they like this shit?
That's still how I feel.
He's not even that hot.
Yeah, I'm hot.
I'm the one that's hot.
Girls should be just crazy about me.
Yeah.
They're so dumb they can't even see that.
Edward doesn't even like her that much. Why does she care that much about him?
Yeah,
why do girls always like assholes?
Yeah.
Why do nice guys always finish last?
We're really incel back then.
Yeah. Everyone was.
True.
Anyway, okay.
Not rubber pantsing.
Back onto the St. Vincent. I just wanted to put as a side note, April 10, 2014, Annie Clark fronted Nirvana at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction for Nirvana. So It was like the first Nirvana performance in quite some time, and they chose her to not only do the induction ceremony, but also
be
part of Nirvana and also, front as be the front woman. I think it's just super interesting. It's indicative. She fell in with the rock community pretty early, I think, and a lot of rock and roll icons just like fucking like love her, like Dave Grohl specifically too. He plays drums on her new album on some of the songs. There's definitely like an ongoing relationship between her and some of those more iconic rock and roll people, which just goes to show they're definitely paying attention to her because, you know, she wasn't like a random choice. She was very specifically sought out. And that was a huge event. Like, it was one of the most watched Rock and Roll Hall of Fame events of all time. So
she was big enough in the rock world where my dad knew about her. And I remember one day approaching me being like, do you know who St. Vincent is? She's a cool guitar player. I like her style.
yeah.
And she had a unique stage presence and like literal
Yeah.
guitar moves.
Her
her dancing and stuff with the guitar was iconic.
Her guitar playing is iconic, and I think that's definitely part of that bridge there of like why so many rock icons like fuck with her so hard is because her guitar playing is just next level. And even in like some of her more pop heavy music, like the guitar playing always comes through as being super unique, super technical, super precise. And then October 13, 2017, Mass Seduction comes out. And then May 14, 2021, Daddy's Home comes out. And then All Born Screaming, April 26th. And then, just as two side notes, she put out Mass Education shortly after Mass Seduction, which was just a acoustic piano / a little bit of like synth, like acoustic ballads of the songs from Mass Seduction. And then she also put out that movie in 2021 with Carrie Brownstein.
Yes.
Called The Nowhere Inn, and there's a soundtrack for that as well. So there are some songs there that are original, and the film was written by Annie Clark as well. So I think it's a good kind of insight into what the fuck her brain is like.
There was also a straight up remix album of Mass Seduction called Nina Kraviz Presents Mass Seduction Rewired.
That is true.
Which I've not listened through all the way, but I've heard some of the remixes.
I did not listen to any of the remixes. I'm not big on remixes, to be honest.
Yeah, let's check them out, but I obviously
I'd be
way prefer
down if someone remixed
Mass
one of our
Seduction.
songs, but
I've been trying.
Hey,
dude.
Lux, get on that shit.
Yeah, dude. Fucking lazy.
Tao Sodo, come on, where the fuck
bastard.
are you? Tag Tao Sodo in this.
Tao so dope
Congrats on getting engaged, you fucking guy.
But priorities, dude.
You can get married after
the Podcadzo remix comes
Yeah.
out. I don't know why I interrupted. Go ahead. Carry on.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, you didn't interrupt.
Were you done?
I wrapped up,
done?
and I
You
was
wrapped
waiting
up?
for you to carry this forward.
Okay.
Pretty much now, all we're going to do is go through track lists. So,
All the track lists of all
yeah,
albums?
every single one, baby.
Oh, okay. Starting with
It won't take
Marry
that
Me?
long. Yeah, we're going to go in order.
All right. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, we could just do her best songs, but then, like, looking at the track list, it's like every song.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Pretty much every song's amazing.
You're going to have to lead this early on because it's been a minute since I've listened to Marry Me or Actor.
Okay.
all the way
Banger. Jesus Saves, I Spend. Absolute
Oh, yeah, that's a
fucking
great
banger.
I love that song.
Such a good song.
Yeah.
Your Lips Are Red, pretty good. The title track, Marry Me, also pretty good. I think kind of the beginning of her delving into like pop ballads a little bit. And then Paris is Burning, which was a reworked Paris is Burning from that EP that she put out in 2006. All My Stars Aligned, which is banger. Apocalypse Song, banger. We Put a Pearl in the Ground, fucking banger. Landmines, banger. Human Racing, banger. And then What Me Worry, banger. There you go.
So it's fair to say you're a fan of this album.
Marry Me, I would give a solid like 7.8 out of 10.
Solid.
And then Actor,
Wait, real quick.
you definitely need to go back and listen to Actor
Yeah, I'm going to tonight.
on the way home.
On the way home.
Let me
I
know
remembered
what
what
you
I was going to interrupt with because you were just talking about movies, and I wanted to bring this up. Did you ever see the Bill Murray movies, St. Vincent?
Yes.
It can't. What year did that come out?
Had to have been like 2014.
I think early
2013.
Yeah, right around there. But it was like right when Saint Vincent was really getting popular, and like I was becoming a big fan of her. And I was like, wow, Saint Vincent has a lot of stock. They're like naming 2014, good call.
Nice.
Like naming movies after her and stuff.
I
literally thought it was gonna be like a Saint, or like I thought maybe she wrote it or something, or.
I did also think that it might have had something to do with Saint Vincent when I saw the title, but then
Because it is pretty funny to like come out with a movie
called Saint Vincent
like named after one of the most famous
at the
indie
time.
musicians at the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, actor.
Yes, actor. The first song, "The Strangers," probably one of my favorite Saint Vincent songs of all time. "Save Me From What I Want," probably also one of my favorite Saint Vincent songs of all time. And then "The Neighbors" is super good. "Actor Out of Work," probably one of the songs that put her on the map as being fucking amazing to everybody.
Yeah.
Made her more of a household name. "Black Rainbow," banger. "Laughing with a Mouth of Blood," banger. "Marrow," banger. "The Bed," banger. "Party," banger. "Just the Same But Brand New," definitely is when I think we start to, not the first time that it happens, but when she definitely starts to be more revealing of her personal life and slightly more narrative in the song. And then track 11, the sequel, fucking banger. And then there was a bonus track on the Amazon edition called "Bicycle," which I also think is one of the best St. Vincent songs ever.
Ooh, I don't think I've heard that one.
And then "Strange Mercy." Do you care to join me for this one?
Yes, I listened to this one recently.
Noob.
No, I'm ready.
So, "Chloe in the Afternoon," absolute fucking banger.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is when, if we could be so bold as to say, she starts to get a little bit of like a dream pop influence mixed in.
Totally.
It's not quite as
gonna make the
hyper.
same
It's not
point,
quite as
yeah.
indie.
Mm-hmm.
It's more dreamy.
Yeah.
Bit more synth heavy. Bit more chopped up.
Less guitar, more synth.
Yes, for sure.
Which has been the theme going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, for how highly touted she was as a guitar player, it's cool to be like, I'm gonna shift to synths. Check this out.
She kind of pulled like a little Johnny Greenwood there, where she was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you guys know me as a guitar player. Well, I do like a lot more than just play the guitar. Like, I literally do fucking everything."
And for this is probably just because like I'm a guitar player and into guitars, and like found out about her kind of through like her being a good guitar player, but her voice was like kind of secondary to me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I really think her voice is more remarkable than her guitar playing.
I think
in a lot
she
of
has
aspects. She has
my
one of the
favorite
most
singing voice
of
all time.
especially in the pop world.
Her ability to think of really catchy melodies that are still very unique, not conventional. It's like especially lately in her career, so many of her songs just get stuck in my head, but none of it is in a conventional way, you know?
I'm jumping ahead to the next album, but "Digital Witness" is one of those songs that like at any moment could be stuck in my head for like an entire day.
Yeah.
I'm just humming that melody to myself.
It's like a reworked version of what, like a hyper pop song should be, kind of.
Yeah.
But anyway, "Strange Mercy," she really like assembled the songs pretty much completely alone. She wrote everything pretty much completely alone. It was produced by John Congleton, but I definitely think it was kind of more co-produced. Like, she doesn't receive production credit, obviously, but I definitely think she assembled pretty much the majority of every track, and then Congleton helped just find more of the view to put it all through.
I saw comparisons on this album too to like a Kate Bush, kind of her
Yeah.
becoming like a Kate Bush, or like even Bjork.
Yeah. I think a lot of old heads did almost instantly compare St. Vincent to Kate Bush, even back in like the Marry Me days.
Yeah. I guess you could see it then too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like kind of the career trajectory of Kate Bush too, where, I mean, I'm not a huge Kate Bush head, but I think she started kind of more off in the singer-songwriter realm before she really became like a pop megastar, like pushing the boundaries.
And she definitely
production.
pushed a lot of production boundaries in the 90s. So, all right. "Cruel," Definitely one of those songs that was on the radio all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in a movie, but I can't remember.
Probably.
And
I love
then
that song, though.
Cheerleader, which is, again, one of my favorite St. Vincent songs ever. It's so good. Surgeon, banger. Northern Lights, banger. The title track, Strange Mercy. Up until this point, I think Strange Mercy is like the weirdest St. Vincent song, you know,
Yeah.
to be released so far. Neutered Fruit, also a pretty weird song.
Mm-hmm.
Champagne Year, very good. And then Dilettante, pretty good. And then Hysterical Strength, banger. Year of the Tiger, absolute fucking banger. One of the best album closers of all time. Unless, of course, you have the deluxe edition, which has like the 4AD sessions as part of the end of the album. So it kind of doesn't end with Year of the Tiger, even though that is like the conceptual end of the record.
I haven't heard the deluxe edition.
And then the fucking what did I do? Oh, there it is. This is Love This Giant. We'll just go through it super quick. Basically, I think what is interesting about this album is it's definitely still like indie pop driven, but St. Vincent kind of ditches a lot of the more synthesized aspect of the songs that she's written up to this point, and they go a bit more organic with it. There's a lot of horns, a lot more like natural drums. There's guitar, there's like regular bass. There is definitely still synth, but I think there's a pretty fair split, and it's pretty easy to tell, like, these are the David Byrne-led songs, and then these are the St. Vincent-led songs. That's the one thing I will say is kind of a bit jarring about this album to me, is, like, some of it kind of just sounds like new Talking Heads, like, if that was a thing, like, uppity indie shit, and then some of it's, like, a bit more out there and abstract, kind of more St. Vincent-y, so...
Well, I was reading about this one, too, and if I understand correctly, I don't think there was really much, like, in-person collaboration. They're, like, sending ideas to each other and stuff. So, yeah, I think it was David Byrne kind of alone in a room running away with a bunch of stuff, sending to Andy Clark.
Yeah, and I think because she had just put out Strange Mercy, like, right before this, like, a year before this, and she started working on the self-titled, like, pretty much right after Love This Giant came out. It was probably more of like a side project for her where she's like, yeah, I'll give you some ideas and stuff. But it definitely seemed like David Byrne had his hands in the production and the style of the album overall a bit more.
Yeah, and David Byrne invites you to collaborate with him. You're not going to feel too empowered to really steamroll the process.
Especially because he has a track record of just being like,
horrible
fuck
to work
everybody.
with. Yeah. I'd be stepping on eggshells the entire time.
But you also can't say no. Because you don't know if you'll ever get another opportunity.
Yeah.
You don't know if he'll ever want to do anything
Don't
again.
think I'll ever be asked.
No, I heard that he was going to hit you up. So
Yeah. Big fan of the Podcadzo EP.
All right. So then the self-titled. We got Rattlesnake, which is a banger. I'd say overall this album, bit more weird, bit more on the hyper side, bit more out of pocket.
Yeah,
kind of goes back
hyper.
towards being indie pop, but still has the nuance of sometimes being a little bit dreamy and still being very modern and kind of fitting in with the trends of the time. So Rattlesnake, Birth in Reverse, Prince Johnny, Huey Newton, Digital Witness, I Prefer Your Love, Regret, Bring Me Your Love, Psychopath, Every Tear Disappears, and then Severed Crossed Fingers. Severed Crossed Fingers has to go on the list of best St. Vincent songs ever.
I'd have to re-listen to that one.
It's so fucking good. It's not really like the rest of the album at all. It's pretty organic. There is like a synth lead, but it's like organic drums. More ballady. Very good song. Birth in Reverse is a fucking banger too, and Prince Johnny as well.
I like Birth in Reverse for sure.
And Digital Witness. I think goes without saying, Digital Witness was like the radio single for this. Like it was fucking everywhere.
Mhm.
People were obsessed with that song.
I was obsessed with the music video too when it came out. Do you remember the music video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All her videos have always been very artistic and very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they leave impressions on, especially like more critically, more of the critical side of things, like blogs and shit are always like, her videos are so fucking good.
Yeah.
And then Mass Seduction in 2017. So, Hang On Me. I think this is maybe my favorite St. Vincent opening track on any of her
it's
records.
a great track.
It sends shivers through my spine. And then Pills, which is fucking hilarious. It's such a funny song. Pills to wake, pills to sleep.
Yeah, I love
Pills,
that
pills,
song.
pills every day of the week. Pills to fuck. And again, very much commentary on kind of what was more. I think it's definitely still relevant, but I feel like it was almost more relevant in 2017, like the party culture of just taking pills constantly and always being on Xan bars and shit like that.
This
Or like antidepressants. Like I feel like that was a theme of those years a lot more.
better living through chemistry.
Exactly.
And you're more familiar with the earlier albums. Was there as much social commentary as there is in
No.
the self-titled and in Mass Seduction?
No, I definitely think social commentary peaks on Mass Seduction, but I also definitely... Well, there's always social commentary. There's always a little bit of kind of tongue-in-cheek mockery happening, but it really comes to the forefront, I think, on Mass Seduction, because it's equal parts like... This is a commentary on where modern pop music is at and like the culture of modern pop, but then the other half of it is like combining the party lifestyle with like what Annie Clark was going through at the time when Mass Seduction came out, which is she was married, I forget to who. She was married to like a fucking supermodel.
Of course.
I think she was married to like Cara Delevingne or something. But then they got divorced, and it was a somewhat brutal divorce, and this is definitely like a breakup album. Like a lot of the songs are about their relationship falling apart and things gradually becoming uglier and uglier till the point where they split up and they can't talk to each other anymore.
It was
and
Cara
they
Delevingne.
hate each other, and St. Vincent's heartbroken. St. Vincent's feeling like she wasn't good enough, didn't do enough, but also that she was with someone who was toxic. She was with someone who engaged in the party lifestyle too much, who was superficial. All those things come through, I think, super clear on this album. And so it's very much like her most self-reflective album up till this point. And then also, yeah, the most commentary towards what society was kind of going through at the time, I think, as well. The artwork is commentary.
Mass
The song-
Seduction.
Yeah,
Artwork,
like
yeah.
the Mass
It's a
Seduction
great
artwork
album
is
cover.
commentary.
Yeah.
The names of the songs are commentary. Obviously, the themes of a lot of the songs are commentary too, and it's obvious. It's like very tongue in cheek. So, the song "Mass Seduction," the title track, is track 3. This is also the first time she works with like a major label pop producer, Jack Antonoff. Obviously, Antonoff had been working with fucking everybody already up to this point. But I think it's cool. This album specifically made me gain a lot of respect for Antonoff, because it was like, how can we feed like a more unhinged version of pop through the same filter and make it seem accessible? I think he was really good at that for this. And then he also went on to do like the exact same thing with the Queen's album that came out in 2017, Villains. So
yeah.
I think that was a big year for Antonoff to branch out and try to do some other things, but maintain his same production style. And then Sugar Boy track 4, fucking banger. Lost Ageless track 5, fucking banger as well. And then Happy Birthday Johnny track 6 is just like a straight piano song, nothing but piano. Definitely super narrative song. She's like singing it as Annie to someone else. She refers to herself as Annie in the song. So yeah, definitely like comes from a very real place, I think. And then Savior, another pop fucking banger. And then New York, which again is like a piano ballad. That song is a perfect loop. So like as soon as it ends, it starts over again, which always blew my mind. And also super narrative song. It's definitely her singing from a first-person point of view. And then Fear the Future, which is like a dystopian pop song about how the world's falling apart. Young Lover, again, fucking banger. Dancing with a Ghost. That song is like super sad. Again, sends fucking shivers down my spine. She says, you're going to go away again. Leave me dancing with a ghost. Obviously talking about the transition of no longer being in a relationship. And then Slow Disco kind of continues directly from Dancing with a Ghost and then kind of also goes into Smoking Section. Those three songs kind of all thematically play into each other and even roll into each other very smoothly. Slow Disco, very sad. And then I also think Smoking Section might be St. Vincent's saddest song that she's ever released.
Yeah.
Also just sends fucking shivers down my spine. Such a fucking beautiful song. They're all super short. Like, Dancing with a Ghost is only 46 seconds long.
Mm-hmm.
And then Slow Disco is 244 and Smoking Section's 337. But when you combine them all together and listen to them just kind of through, it's just it's like, I've never felt someone else's heartbreak like more, I don't think, than those three songs. It's like, damn, she's fucked up and I can feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the album definitely starts very uppity and poppy and happy and superficial, and then it ends very stripped back, very organic, very sad, very alone feeling, just very disparaged. So, beautifully put together record. I think it might be my favorite one, honestly, in a lot of ways.
You saw the Mass Seduction tour too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I wish I went to that show.
Show was so fucking good,
I love
dude.
it. Where'd you play?
At the fucking Botanical Gardens.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen a show at the
And Daddy's Home
Botanical
too,
Gardens.
but I didn't see Daddy's Home, but Will did.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to Daddy's Home.
I love the
which-
film Daddy's Home as well. I've seen the film Daddy's Home, not the tour.
Is that like the Will Ferrell movie?
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell. Great movie.
Mark Wahlberg like goes to jail or something, or gets out of jail. What is it?
He is. I don't know if he was in prison, but he's just like kind of a motorcycle bad boy. And Will Ferrell's, a dork like he often plays.
Ever since the other guys,
Mm-hmm.
Will Ferrell's just
it's
the
a
dork
dream
now.
collaboration, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. Who would have thought it?
It is.
All right, anyways, Daddy's Home.
So Daddy's
The
Home.
album.
So I think after Mass Seduction, people were expecting her to do something a bit different. I think this is definitely her most Mass Seduction is a huge concept record as far as like all the songs making sense together and stuff, and she gave herself a bunch of restrictions for that record, like it has to be this way. Daddy's Home is even more like that. Like, it goes even further in the concept direction of like, we're channeling something very, very specific, and we're going for a very specific feeling, very specific era, very specific aesthetic. I also think this album is probably her most self-reflective, most narrative album. It tells the most about who she is and where she came from and like why she is who she is, what her life has been like up to this point. So yeah, Pay Your Way in Pain was the single. Banger. She also worked with Jack Antonoff again on this one. And then Down and Out Downtown, it kind of immediately goes in this direction of being more slow, more like 70s funk, 70s pop, retro vibes, more organic sounding. The synth sounds are more analog synthy, more weird, more out there. And then the title track, Daddy's Home, is track 3. Again, this album really reminds me of like what it would have felt like to like be in like a club listening to music in like the 70s where like everything is made out of like shag and suede and like everything's like brown and green.
Yeah.
Like that's what this album makes me feel like.
I feel the same way. That's a good way to describe it.
And then Live the Dream, which is really good. The Melting of the Sun, which is a bit more of like a ballad, guitar led, slower. And then Humming, which is an interlude. The Laughing Man, which is a banger. Down gets a little bit, again, like narrative, kind of that dingy club feel. and then another interlude, and then Somebody Like Me, My Baby Wants a Baby, At the Holiday Party, Candy Darling, and Humming. Very solid album overall. I will say it's probably my least favorite St. Vincent album, but that's kind of like with Radiohead. Like, my least favorite Radiohead album is still better than like my least favorite band's best album. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
Her bar is so high that even an album that doesn't fully hit me is still like better than 90% of the shit that's
Objectively
being
great.
put out.
I listened to this album when it came out, and maybe a few of the tracks a couple times since then. But yeah, I haven't spent much time with it. I do. Do you know about the background of her dad being incarcerated?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that about the album. Looking
So
into that.
yeah, I guess the big theme of it is really that, you know, her father was gone for a portion of her childhood, and it definitely left a huge hole in her development, I think. Not necessarily her development, but just her ability to identify like healthy family. And I think in a time when she was growing so quickly, she definitely needed more parenting than she received, and left her to feel like she had to fend for herself a lot, which I think is what kind of Daddy's Home ends at, is like, I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing this shit for myself.
Mm-hmm. And the song
But-
Daddy's Home was written about her visiting her dad in prison.
Mm-hmm.
One of the last times she did that. I think this is funny, just talking about how you would rank it personally. Both Consequence of Sound and Rolling Stone made a 50 best albums list of 2021, and both of them ranked them 50, which is like kind of like, I feel like the critical version of like yeah, it's
Yeah.
not our favorite St. Vincent album, but it's St. Vincent. It's got to be on.
We had to put
it's
it
got
on
to
the
be on the
list.
list. We'll
Yeah.
put it at 50.
Yeah, it has to be on the list because it's St. Vincent.
Yeah.
She's a household name, especially for that critical community. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
I don't even think I put it on my list of albums of the year when it came out, but it's an album that I still listen to frequently. I come back to it every few months and I listen to it just because I'm like, I really want to get to that point where it is in like just a great album within her discography, and I do think it's pretty good. I definitely wouldn't say it's amazing the same way that like Mass Seduction is amazing. And then that brings us to All Born Screaming, which just came out. I think it's like her shortest album. It's definitely one of her shorter albums. Daddy's Home 4603. And then Mass Seduction 4447. I guess the self-titled was 40 minutes long, so a little bit shorter.
This one's coming in at 41. All Born Screaming, yeah,
Mhm.
41.
So it's one of her shorter ones. It definitely feels that way to me when I listen to it, especially like because like we mentioned earlier, I live kind of out in the sticks. I can put this album on when I leave my house, and then by the time I get to like the other side of Fort Collins, like it's done because it's 40 minutes long, you know? I can listen to this whole album in one drive sometimes.
I listened to it on the way over here, on my way from Denver. Listened to it again, and yeah, I was on the last track by the time I got onto I-25 because the traffic on 270 was pretty severe today.
Yeah. And since this is a bit more recent of an album, we can go a little bit deeper into like the release and stuff and the track listing, and also the singles. I think it's important to mention, you know, Broken Man was the first single. It came out in February. When it came out, especially because Daddy's Home was a bit slower, a bit quieter of an album, definitely chill compared to Mass Seduction being fucking off the walls. I think people were expecting it to be a bit more loud, a bit more upbeat, and she's also been saying for a while now, just like in interviews and stuff and on social media, that she wants to make like a metal album or like a hard
Yeah.
rock album.
And she did the Metallica collab.
She did the Metallica
Sad but
collab.
true.
Yeah, that's true. And so when she put out Broken Man, it's like a guitar-led, very loud, super heavy snare drum, like very drum-heavy, bassy, just kind of in-your-face single, and her vocal is like unhinged on it. It's just super like, whoa, kind of compared to Daddy's Home. And so when that came out as the single, I was like, dang, like, she's finally going to do it. She's finally going to release the metal album. This is fucking sick. And then she said Dave Grohl's playing drums on it. I produced it. Like, I was like, fuck yeah, this is the album she's wanted to make forever. The heavy metal album that she's always wanted to make.
And then you hear the 2 opening tracks, and you're like, what is this?
What the fuck? Yeah, exactly.
Will there be guitar on this album at all?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, because she has built herself a reputation for her albums being so specifically within a category, and she sets herself up with so many rules and guidelines, you really would think, listening to just the single, well, she's not going to vary from this too much. This is pretty much what the tone of the album is going to be. This is what it's going to sound like sonically. And then, needless to say, the rest of the album comes out. A lot of it doesn't really sound like Broken Man at all.
No. Really, there's kind of, the way I view it, the album is like synth dream pop openers, Hell Is Near, Reckless, and then we hit the big time rock block, Broken Man, Flea, Big Time Nothing. And then Violent Times is like a straight up Portishead.
Yeah.
And I didn't look into this at all, but there's Sour Times, obviously, like the biggest Portishead track. Is that a reference to?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That would be crazy, though.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just funny that Violent Times, Sour Times sounds like a James Bond theme song. Yeah, and then it's kind of like a mixed bag on the way out. The album is very much, more than any of her other albums, I'd say, a collection of singles, kind of.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it is not a cohesive album at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's kind of definitely perfectly summarizes the point I was trying to make with like her albums, her previous albums being so heavy on rules and her wanting to make things that conceptually flow from start to finish. She put herself in that box for so long that I feel like this album is kind of a natural reaction to that, and being like, okay, now I'm just going to do whatever comes to mind, whatever I feel like I want to do, especially since it's a self-produced record. I think she let herself get a lot more out of the box with it in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I think this record is, I definitely wouldn't say it feels like a collection of singles in the sense that it definitely still feels like a cohesive record. It still tells a story from start to finish. The songs do make sense together. They definitely just like genre hop a bit more than classic St. Vincent records tend to. Like, you know, Hell Is Near, I think it's a pretty classic opener. It makes sense as the opener, and it sounds kind of like, it sounds like St. Vincent in the sense that it's like, it's got a little bit of Daddy's Home energy mixed with like some self-titled energy.
Yeah.
But then you get to Reckless, which is like pretty much completely unlike any St. Vincent song that she's ever released, and it's also so stripped back. And I don't want to say digital sounding, but definitely more artificial sounding than like Broken Man, for example. And then, yeah, the rock block, which is just like all the guitar heavy songs. Flea has like an instrumental breakdown in it, which is fucking sick.
I love that part. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And then Big Time Nothing, which is like if the heavy song was synth led instead of guitar led.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it kind of goes back to just being a little bit more all over the place, in my opinion, towards the end. Like, I don't necessarily... the songs all make sense together and stuff. I just don't necessarily know, like, thematically what ties them all together yet. I need to listen to it more. But Violent Times, like you said, Portishead song, it's, like, led by horns. It's very open, very groovy. And then Powers Out, I think, is a banger. Sweetest Fruit, I'm not the biggest fan of that song quite yet. It's, like, it makes me feel like she's trying to do, like, another weird... sub-poppy thing, like, or not sub-poppy, like art-poppy thing,
yeah.
like kind of self-titled shit, but it's just a little bit too... I don't want to say too weird. It's like too uppity for me compared to the way the rest of the record sounds.
I like there's like a cool kind of like bluesy guitar riff in the middle of
The guitar part is pretty sick.
in Sweetest Fruit, which I dig.
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's mostly just like the main hook and like the intro part of the song that I can't necessarily get over because it's such an abrasive way that the song starts, and it is kind of, in my opinion, the biggest juxtaposition of sound comparatively to like the rest of the tracks, and the fact that it's so far deep into the track list. It's like, why is this right before essentially the end of the record?
That's each time I listen to the album, when I get to that song too, it's when I start feeling like, whoa, this is really random. Like, the back half of this is really random.
Yeah, this song should definitely be either further up the track list or maybe just not on the record at all.
In the deluxe edition.
And then So Many Planets is pretty goddamn good.
That seems like a David Byrne collaboration almost.
It does.
It's very Talking Heads-esque.
It is
part.
very.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting about that to me too is like, I like even Digital Witness is like David Byrne sounding to me too, especially like the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I think that's always kind of been there with her. And if you listen to like Actor, and obviously like Marry Me Too, I think there is a pretty heavy David Byrne influence there, where it's like she definitely was listening to a lot of Talking Heads when she grew up. But then All Born Screaming is like the spine-chilling closer of the record, where it's like, she says it's supposed to be like a positive message, like we're all born screaming, but like it kind of seems like a scary one, where it's like, we're definitely all born scared, alone, freaking out, not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I got a negative feeling, kind of from the album overall.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah, I did not get the sense that it was overwhelmingly positive. And yeah, the kind of spooky choral outro of All Born Screaming.
The Kate LeBon vocals.
Yeah, Kate LeBon vocals is. It's an interesting track, All Born Screaming, because
it's very.
The first half is like maybe the most straightforward song as far in terms of songwriting on the album.
Yeah,
and then, it fades out and then fades back in with the Kate LeBon super produced, trippy outro.
Yeah, it's definitely when it like spaces out the most for this record, and when it gets the most. It feels dreamy, but it definitely feels like dystopian dreamy, like dark. It doesn't feel happy and uplifting dreamy. And it also definitely, I think, has to be like one of the longest St. Vincent songs that she's ever released, because it does feel in a way like kind of two little songs put together. But it is definitely one concept from start to finish. Like, it doesn't feel like, okay, let's stop and then start again in a minute with something else. Like, it feels like a through line. So,
yeah.
And as far as album closers go, very solid as a closer.
It's a good one.
It leaves me feeling like, whoa, shit. Kind of makes me feel like I want a little bit more. I do feel like this album feels a little bit short. Maybe that's just because I fucking love St. Vincent and I want all of her albums to be like double length, long ass records where the songs are perhaps like a bit more narrative, but I do think for what this record is, it's pretty damn solid. It's really hard for me to tell where I would rank it with the other St. Vincent albums right now. I definitely need to listen to it more before I can decide like, oh, this is way better than whatever. But
I think I need to do that too. But in terms of songs, so I listened to Broken Man as soon as it was released and liked it, but for me it was kind of a forgettable single. But then hearing it in the context of the album again, I was like, well, Broken Man might be one of my favorite St. Vincent songs.
In the context of the
time.
Album, it's just like, this is huge. Like, this is
it's such
massive.
a dope song. There's so many poignant lyrics in it too that kind of like stand out and draw your attention. And I love that song. I love that whole chunk of the album. Like the rock block. Those songs are also great. Flea is such a cool song.
Yeah, Flea I did not see coming.
No.
Like a song like that from St. Vincent, I definitely wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah.
Even when I was thinking this was going to be like a heavier album, like, because it's not really that heavy. It's kind of like psychedelic in some ways. Very just like stream of consciousness
Yeah.
jamming.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
As much as it's a weird Portishead rip-off kind of random song, I love Violent Times. It's a really cool song. Probably just because I love Portishead so much. We need to do Portishead sode.
Well, and St. Vincent's really, really good at that kind of like half-tempo, open, spacey thing. Like, she locks in a groove in a way that like a lot of people can't. Like, thinking back to like a Prince Johnny type song, like the way that as soon as the drums start, you're just like bobbing your head. Like, that's the type of groove that's in Violent Times as well.
I forgot that she co-wrote Cruel Summer, the Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite Taylor Swift song.
That's so random too.
I know. But it is. That's my favorite Taylor Swift single. And then I didn't even know she co-wrote it until a while after it came out. I was like, of course, that's my favorite Taylor Swift single.
Because I think
St. Vincent is behind it.
If I remember correctly, that's like how she wound up, like, not necessarily meeting Jack Antonoff, but getting up the courage to ask if he'd produce.
Oh, really?
For
wasn't
Mass Seduction.
Cruel Summer was
Because
released after Mass Seduction, I thought. What album was Cruel Summer on?
I thought Cruel Summer was like 2016.
I know it was re-released as a single recently. Cruel Summer was.
Yeah, the Taylor's version one.
Yeah, because it kind of fell short. It was a single like whatever album it was on. And kind of fell short as a single, and they re-released it, and that's when it became like a number one.
Damn it. It's so hard to find when the original one came out because of all the new shit.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I definitely know.
My shit's not working.
I definitely know that somehow St. Vincent and Jack Antonoff got paired up because of Taylor Swift.
I was gonna ask what the Jack Antonoff, St. Vincent, Taylor Swift connection was there, but yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, dude, great sode.
Yeah,
Good
we
notes.
actually did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We did a whole person's discography. We didn't get that distracted.
Pretty efficiently.
We educated at least one person probably about one thing, whether or not it was about Taylor Swift or Hamas or
what else?
What did we talk about?
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Dude, I'm sorry to come back around to this. Bill Maher's just such a fucking insufferable piece of shit, dude.
New rule. We don't like Bill Maher on this podcast. We're anti Bill Maher. Who are the enemies of podcadzo? I think it's important to have a kind of conceptually defined enemy list for any successful podcast.
Bill Maher.
Don't like Bill Maher.
Haven't we? Oh, Jokes on Wokes.
Yeah, Jokes on Wokes.
I feel like we've made one enemy, but I can't remember who it is. Haven't we declared our public disdain for at least one other person on here before? I mean, Kanye West should be everybody's enemy at this point.
James Murphy.
Yeah.
James Murphy.
LCD Sound System. Yeah. Not everyone in LCD Sound System.
No,
but
just James Murphy.
When they perform as LCD Sound System, that's pretty bad. Julian Casablancas.
No,
fucking hate
I'm
that
against
guy.
that one. No. The list is growing.
Alex Turner.
What's important. Yeah, Alex Turner we kind of shit on. I think Alex Turner we can.
People that would never do this pod.
Tom Segura.
Definitely Tom Segura. We're too poor. He wouldn't come on here because we're too poor, and I'm too fat.
Yeah. You have to have a six-pack to be a Tom Segura fan, or for Tom Segura to be a fan of you.
We don't have the winner mindset.
Yeah, exactly. We're poors.
We're too busy out here paying estate tax and property tax and fucking. Do they have sales tax in Texas?
I don't know.
If they do, it's got to be low.
They maybe don't. Wyoming doesn't have a sales tax, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of states that don't.
So I imagine Texas doesn't.
Oh, Jesus. They actually have a pretty high state tax.
Sales tax?
6.25%. Yeah.
That's not too bad.
That's above average.
Yeah. What's average sales tax?
I think it's like 2.9%.
Oh, okay. Wow. Fuck. Yeah, that is bad.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I
Thought
guess-
y'all
I
were
guess
about freedom over there in Texas.
They're making up for lack of other taxes. What a bunch of fucking idiots. Everyone in Texas got fooled into thinking they don't pay taxes, but they're just making it back
and then
in
the
sales
richest
tax.
people move there and probably really don't contribute that much to sales taxes. They're not like purchasing that much within the local economy.
Right. They're driving down to Mexico to buy everything.
They're fucking driving down the fucking economy. That's what they're doing.
Fucking assholes.
Fucking pricks.
Communists. American hating communists, essentially, is what
That's
they
you,
are.
Tom Segura.
Yeah.
Did you see the roast of Tom Brady at all?
I've seen clips. Like, is it? Have you seen the whole thing?
Yeah.
Is it worth watching?
No.
Who did the best job?
Nikki Glaser.
Nikki Glaser. I've seen
Mhm.
clips from her. She seems the least cringy of any of the roasters. I really don't like Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
Tony Hinchcliffe is
Tony
getting a little
Hinchcliffe
old for me.
was pretty funny too.
Yes. I
At the roast
respect
specifically.
I respect Tony Hinchcliffe's roasting capabilities.
Mhm.
And I think like Kill Tony thing. I've never really watched Kill Tony, but
Me
I think
neither.
it seems like a cool concept and he's very successful with it. So no disrespect to Kill Tony or to Tony Hinchcliffe, but I just like see so much of him on the internet. It's just getting like a little old for me.
Yeah. It's definitely like what's popular right now.
Yeah. And yeah, if anyone but Kevin Hart was hosting, I maybe would give it more of a chance. Yeah, was Kevin Hart decent at it in it?
No.
It was what you'd expect.
It was what I would expect from Kevin Hart. Yeah, it wasn't that good. It honestly was. It seemed like he was kind of phoning it in. It seemed like he might have been a little bit wasted.
That's
maybe
cool.
he
I
was
like
a little
that.
tipsy.
I actually like that. Maybe
I don't think it. It wasn't evident at first, but the more, because it's like 3 hours long. The more it goes on, the more it's like. I think Kevin Hart
Just
might have
drinking the
had
whole time.
one too many.
Yeah. Everyone should be required to be blacked out for the
Gronk
roast.
was definitely fucking drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw any clips of Gronk's speech, but it was so bad. It was
Didn't,
like,
but I don't know if I would have been able to tell if that's just how he normally talks.
Exactly. Yeah. That one, he was getting, people are giving Gronk a lot of shit throughout the whole night for just being stupid. And then after his little speech was over, he's like, "You guys all think I'm fucking dumb, but I wrote like all these jokes by myself." And it's like, yeah, no, we knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
said
could
a
tell
couple
by the spelling errors in your notes.
He was. Kevin Hart was like standing up. Kevin Hart was trying to be like a joker, you know, like when people would rib him or like give him shit, he would like stand up and like walk around and be like, you know,
Like a Joaquin
heated.
Phoenix Joker where he's like shooting the host on
Yeah, exactly like that.
like a Bud Dwyer type.
Gronk just like said a joke, and then Kevin Hart stood up and pretended to be mad, and then Gronk was like, "You could suck my dick while you're still standing up," and then started like just making short jokes. And
Nice.
I was like, "Yeah,
That's
none of
evergreen
this
material.
is scripted whatsoever."
Yeah. I did see a Nikki Glaser joke where she was like, "You got to hand it to Kevin Hart because he can't reach." Thought it was good.
Definitely,
It's probably a
hilarious.
very old school short joke, but
Yeah, 100%.
but
Definitely been
I
told
hadn't
by
heard it in a
someone else
while.
at some point.
Oh, I did see the Tom Brady, the Jeff Ross thing where Tom Brady was like, "Don't say that shit again."
Yeah,
That was crazy because he made fun of Robert Kraft.
yeah.
I was like, you weren't expecting that, and it was like the most benign.
It was
Kraft
such
joke.
an innocent joke.
Yeah,
And I'm sure someone probably said Robert Kraft is off limits.
off limits. Yeah,
But it's hard to tell if Tom Brady was kidding or serious.
it seemed serious.
In the context of the whole thing, I couldn't tell because he like came up and he said, "Don't say that shit again," but he was like smiling and laughing a little bit.
Yeah,
And Jeff Ross was like, "Okay, sounds good," but he was also like smiling and laughing a little bit.
Jeff Ross seemed
A little nervous.
a little taken aback
Yeah.
by it. Yeah, a little. Which I think it's funny to say, "Don't say that shit again." It's like, oh, I had that written twice in my set, so thanks for telling me.
Well, yeah, and then someone else made a joke about Robert Kraft later, and Tom Brady didn't seem to give a shit. But I think it was just like a joke about how Robert Kraft is old. Yeah.
Well, Good so, dude.
Yep. We made it to the end of another one.
Another one.
We're at the end of this episode.
Oh, we're just about at a year of the pod. Maybe next episode we should do a
year
celebration, a year in review.
We should watch all of our podcasts back to back on a live stream and react.
At this point, I was thinking about this. Now that this will be episode 49, I believe. So let's assume we average an hour 15 for every episode. It's an hour 15 times 49. 1.25 times 49 is 49 hours, and what's a quarter of 50? It's 12. So we've spent 49 hours, 49 plus 12, that's 61. We've spent 61 hours, which is almost 3 full days talking to each other in your basement down here.
Yeah. Which doesn't really seem like that much when you think about it.
No, it's really not that much. Yeah. So
it's a lot, and it's also not.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyways.
Cool.
Fuck you.